Today, we will be discussing the work of Ronan Donovan. He's an American conservation photographer revered for his documentation of Yellowstone's gray wolves, shown in a 2016 issue of National Geographic. Donovan's interest in photography was sparked by his work as a field biologist. In 2011, he spent time in Uganda capturing images of chimpanzees, and through this, he was teaching himself about the technical facets of photography. With his passion for conservation of wildlife and newfound love for photography, his career began. Thus far, he's been honored in the Photo Society of National Geographic, and his work is aired on BBC, National Geographic, and PBS. He may be relatively fresh to the scene, but his work has already crossed several different regions. This spans from the wildlife in Uganda to Rwanda, Canada, and Yellowstone National Park. His images personify the enduring power of the wild, a sight and concept lost on most people in today's society. Currently, he's in Uganda exploring the dilemma between humans and chimpanzees that has occurred as a result of deforestation. He feels that he can have, quote, more of an impact through visual storytelling, which is clearly echoed in both the sheer magnificence of the world's landscape and the captivating might of the animals he captures in his images. In 2015, Donovan spent a whole year living inside Yellowstone National Park, capturing the life of its wild wolves. In this image, we see a wild wolf standing face-on to the viewer over the carcass of a bison. The wolf and bison dominate the foreground. Their distinctive features give them dimension and set them apart from the tones of a neutral background. This image may almost provoke an instinctual reaction of fear or danger, yet prompts wonderment at the breathtaking backdrop. The ground-level perspective seems to convey a parallel between the wolf and the mountains, as the wolf is captured in line to the backdrop of vast mountains. This is another picture from his documentation of Yellowstone that I found fascination with in its raw beauty of the landscape and adjacent atmosphere. Donovan uses the scope of the lens to his advantage by juxtaposing a vastly open and calming landscape against the intensity of the mountains and setting sun. The vibrancy of the sun's reflection on the clouds pulls the viewer's attention in and seemingly guides the eye through all of its twists and turns. His use of the horizontal format also supports the natural layering of the land and its progression in intensity. This image evokes feelings of serenity and awe. It's so vivid and every feature is so defined that it almost seems dreamlike. This dreamlike capture of the landscape seems intentional, meant to emphasize the sheer beauty and command that land has when untouched by man. In this image taken on Ellesmere Island, we see a family of Arctic wolves nuzzled up to each other in a somber setting. Donovan strays from the use of strong background to complement the foreground. Rather, he subdues the background to amplify the impact of the wolves. The use of dark and blurred tones in the sky and rolling hills are set against the vivid color of the wolves. His manipulation of an almost head-on perspective plays in line to the context of the scene and directs our attention. With this image, Donovan's bringing to light a story about nature that's drastically different from what we've previously seen. That is, there's a more severe side to nature, one that can be apathetic and uncompromising to its inhabitants. This shot comes from the mountains of Rwanda. In this image, we see an adult gorilla gently cradling its child. It embodies the characterization of simplicity, yet deep impact. Magnifying this moment to frame just the baby gorilla being held deepens the sense of intimacy the moment has and that the viewer should feel. The story is this affectionate moment, and it can stand on its own with the simple manipulation of light used to illuminate the baby gorilla's face. It's easy for humans to feel disconnected with wildlife because we often associate it with that of primal and ravenous animals. This image closes that gap and brings a sense of familiarity and relatable connection between humans and wildlife. I chose to explore the work of Ronan Donovan because his raw presentations of the wildlife expose us to a different side of nature that I not only resonate with, but that I also may never get to experience firsthand. While most of his images are aesthetically evaluative, many of them are also ethically evaluative, as they address the conservational aspect of wildlife and this connection between humans and wild animals. Donovan's images not only capture a mere glimpse into the beauty of land unaltered by man's touch, but also bring a grounding connection to the viewer of wildlife in all its forms. It's the way he deliberately applies his composition that he communicates a story of both parallels between us and the animals, and also the intricacy and distinctive features of nature that set wildlife apart from us.